Hi, it's Victor here from SecPoint with the weekly IT security TV show. We have a lot of very exciting news for you this week. The first one we have is about Apple OSX Yosemite that was just released is subject to a new zero-day vulnerability that can allow local users to get root access on the system. Discovered by a Swedish hacker and will be discovered publicized in January 2015, so Apple has a chance to roll out patches to everybody. So if you're running OSX Yosemite, make sure you upgrade to the latest security patches when they are available. Also, it turns out that several of the older versions of OSX X is also vulnerable, so even if you're not on Yosemite, it is very much recommended to upgrade. Another story about 73,000 web cameras, security cameras running online on IP addresses are vulnerable to using the default password, and that can allow for attackers to simply scan large chunks of IP addresses and get access to the cameras. A website has actually done this, of course, and have collected more than 73,000 vulnerable webcams that are available to anyone to log in. They even divided it out by countries, and for example in the country of Denmark more than 500 cameras were publicly available, and you could just log in and see the stream of people's homes, of businesses, kitchen and offices, stock departments, things like that. So make sure if you're running IP surveillance, of course, to change the default password and not even have it accessible on the internet without any login, of course. We have a story about Hong Kong pro-democracy sites being DDoS attacked, subject by the Chinese government. Of course, they're denying everything, but it was pro-democracy sites and forums being attacked. We have a story about the US Postal Service employing more than 500,000 full-time workers and close to 200,000 part-time were hacked, and in a period from January the 1st to August the 16th this year in 2014, everybody calling into the US Postal Service giving their private information could be at risk. So always make sure when you are calling into government offices or corporations, never give out any sensitive information, or for example if you're emailing, since it could be abused by hackers if they have been compromised. The story on the Apple platform, it seems in the old days it was always said that Apple is very, very secure, never being targeted by anything. For example, it's only Windows, it's only the Android platform. But we are seeing attackers more and more attacking the Apple and Mac OS X and iOS mobile platforms these days. We have a story here about a WireLurker malware that are now again destroying Apple's advantages on the security front. And they simply were infecting, and the reports are only from China at this moment, but possibly can spread to other countries as well. In China they have a second app store called Mayadi that has a lot of pirated software and more than 467 applications, including popular games like The Sims and other type of soccer games, were infected with this malware, coming into the systems, infecting everything. And it also targeted non-jailbroken iOS 7 and iOS 8 devices such as iPhones and iPads. So make sure only install things from the trusted source from the Apple App Store. And of course, if you're jailbreaking your iOS or devices, you are also at greater risk. Another malware also hitting is called the MASQUE attack, and that's even more dangerous than the WireLurker. And this allows attackers to send in via email or via text applications and install it on the devices that could lead to full compromise. And it's reported that again Apple is now blocking those type of applications, so make sure you have the latest security updates from Apple so you're not under attack. And again, it's very important for users to understand, even if they're running a Mac or an iOS device, they can still be under attack, and don't blindly click on things. Then we have a story from Microsoft, also like Apple are very much under attack, and they are rolling out a supersized Patch Tuesday update. It will consist of actually coming out on the November 11th. It will consist of more than 16 security patches and 60 overall updates. And of course, we know with the history of Microsoft updates that they can actually break your system. So it is recommended you do not actually update right away when it's coming out on very crucial systems, but wait and see if it is stable before you put it on your production systems or production laptops, for example. There have been stories earlier about Microsoft rolling out updates, and then they had to cancel them and take them back because they simply were destroying the operating systems on the user. Belkin routers are subject to a vulnerability that can allow a guest user on the router, on the wireless router for example, to gain admin access and get full control of the router. So if you're running a Belkin router, in this case here it's an N750 dual band, it's very much recommended you upgrade the firmware, and it could also be other router models from Belkin. So make sure if you see any security updates to install them right away. We have a follow-up story on the Home Depot. Earlier was hacked and lost 56 million credit card details. Now they also confirmed that 53 million email addresses were stolen in a recent hack. And of course that could lead to a lot of targeted spam. Spammers can see on the emails which order history people had, which type of interest they had, and target it with spam. So again, make sure when you go to chains like Home Depot or other places, don't give out any personal information like your email, since you can be subject in a future hack as well. NSA, they are now on a charm offensive. They're going out and say they are also sharing most of the security vulnerabilities they are discovering. We have not seen any cases about that, but they're trying to do a lot to get a more positive view from the public. After all the Snowden revelations, NSA have gotten a lot of critique, and a lot of people are dislike them at the moment. We also have a story on, again, related with privacy on Facebook. They are seeing a 24% increase in government requests for private user data. And just in 2014 alone in the United States, they had more than 15,000 requests in just the first half year. So possibly more than double that in the whole year when the year is over. So we are seeing an increased from the government trying to get access private information from the users of the social media networks. And the key thing is, make sure if you're using social media networks never to put any private information, because it can be subject to hackers or to government inquiries, or they can be sold to third party for commercial interests. Up the NSA story, we now have another NSA charm offensive. We have an ex-NSA lawyer coming out saying that basically talking about that Apple and Google, they are now securing more their systems, putting in encryption. And the ex-NSA lawyer warns about that it will go them as BlackBerry. And BlackBerry, of course, had a lot of trouble in sales recently, but they had a very secure system, not giving the keys to the NSA, it claims. And the NSA lawyer is talking about if Google and Apple do not give all the data over to the NSA, it might go them as BlackBerry. Of course, that could be looked at as a charm offensive from the NSA again. Here from hackers that are hacking into the Hilton HHonors points, reward point system, getting access to the points and, for example, buying a $2,000 television for like $18 using the points there. And make sure if you're using the Hilton HHonors club points, find out if you have lost any points or your account with sensitive data have been compromised. You could contact them and make sure you are not on the risk. Then we have a story about the FBI. They are seizing the Silk Road version 2.0 in Operation Anonymous, and they closed down more than 400 underground sites. And they busted the guy behind it, called using the alias DEFCON in California. with a conspiracy for drug trafficking, computer hacking, money laundering, and very bad things. So make sure never to buy any illegal drugs online, because many times it's just a matter of time before they can close down the systems, get access to everything, and see your history in there if you have bought anything. Russia and China and Russia and America situation, we are seeing that Chinese Telecom are routing traffic from Russia to China. So when they're doing trace route information from, for example, from Moscow to Europe, it actually goes via China. So even China and Russia, that seems to be a little allied against the US, are actually also in battle against each other. And again, it just shows that make sure you check, you can use, for example, trace route and other techniques and see where the routing traffic is going. And again, never send anything if it is not encrypted over the internet, since it can be intercepted by a third party. We also have here a BlackEnergy Crimeware attack that are targeting Linux systems and Cisco routers, reported by Kaspersky Labs. There have been earlier cases of this attack, and it has now been upgraded so it's more stronger, and it claims to be using Cisco backdoors. They even put in a message about the zero-day attack to Kaspersky that they will never block them, of course. But of course, Kaspersky have followed up on the story and have disclosed this new attack form. So make sure if you are scanning your systems regularly for malware, so you are not under attack. All the top CEOs from major corporations being targeted by a dark hotel APT malware. And basically when those top CEOs were going to high rating hotels, were being hacked via wireless access points, via zero-day exploit, and they could get into the CEO's computers, typically senior personnel, maybe with a less amount of technical skills, and this way get into the system and spy on everything and get sensitive information from top corporations being leaked out. Thank you for watching this weekly IT security TV show. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and for more information please visit SecPoint.com. Thank you and have a very secure day ahead.